did your priority change here? Did professional take a little stepping back while pushing your personal front?
Sometimes, as they say, you bloom where your roots are.
Geography is history.
Geography is history. Yeah,
You can work from anywhere.
You can work from anywhere. So whether you're trying to be an entrepreneur, or you're trying to
balance
work,
yeah.
or you're trying to, or you're in the corporate sector where you've always been an employee of an organization, I think there are opportunities and there are ways to make it work irrespective of your location.
Namaste, I'm Shubhi Mathur and I welcome you all to the new season of Let Us Talk. In this season, while we are navigating the midlife challenges, there are so many things which hits us. Recently, while having a conversation with my friend, we both were talking that few things are so difficult to accept. हमें बहुत टाइम लगता है कुछ चीज़ें समझने और accept करने में. And one of the things which hits us really hard is seeing our parents aging. And this makes us feel the need, or this gives us that urge to move to them. But then we feel we are at a crossroad. Should we shift with them? Should they shift with us? What about my partner's job? What about my children? So today, let us talk about these personal challenges which we all face at some point of our time. Our today's guest is Mrs. Mansi Kasliwal, who is here to discuss a recent transition which she and her family made. And what is special about this transition? Let us delve into today's conversation. Welcome, Mansi. Welcome on Let Us Talk.
Thank you, Shubhi. Thank you so much for inviting me to your Let Us Talk series. I've been watching your season 1 of Let Us Talk, and not only have I watched it, but some of your sessions have been so useful that I've really shared them with my friends and family. So it's a pleasure to be here. It's a pleasure to be on this side of the screen talking to you. Thank you for having me.
So, Mansi, I have already told my viewers that you are here to discuss a recent transition which you and your family made. तो अब सस्पेंस किल करते हैं. What is this recent transition? Let me share with our viewers also.
Sure.
So Mansi recently moved to Jaipur from Bangalore. A move which we all make. भाई jobs में हैं, every 4-5 years transfer होता है. So what is special? But let me give a brief intro about you to our viewers. Mansi holds a degree of sustainable design from Carnegie Mellon University. Then she studied sustainable business strategy from Harvard Business School. After that, she was a part of many organizations handling their social initiatives. And not only this, she had her startup, Upskill, which focused on grassroots level skill training and future employment. So, Mansi, your education background, your professional background is so impressive. And you have stayed in cities like Dallas, London, Mumbai, Bangalore, and then this sudden shift.
Yes.
It is not easy.
Right. So, Shubhi, I think there comes a time in everybody's life where they are, like you mentioned, at a crossroads. But what is very important to understand is that, what really builds up to this crossroads. So I'm going to tell you a very short story about how this came about in my life. This is many, many years back while I was still living in the US. Early years, no child, no responsibilities, recently married, sort of had the
honeymoon
freedom.
phase, what we call.
Exactly,
Yeah.
And sort of the freedom to do what one likes, right?
Yeah.
But we were sitting at Thanksgiving lunch with our extended family and cousins. And how customary you say a word of gratitude
Yeah.
before you actually start your meal. I heard a lot of my cousins talking about, and they were older cousins, so probably at the same stage of life that we are at now. They were talking about, how the health of their parents had brought them to a crossroads of where they wanted to live and how their life would transform because of the choices that they would need to make. So while I sat at the table, I said a word of gratitude and I said, I am so grateful that my parents, my in-laws are healthy, that I am able to live this carefree life right now and I'm able to do the things that I want to do. But I think at that time, there was a seed that was sown in my head that somewhere we will also arrive at that stage in life where they will need us. And therefore, this whole I guess this whole story of how we made our life choices that ultimately did after 20 years bring us back to going back to Jaipur and living with them.
Wow, Mansi, this is something so beautiful. And that time when you would have raised this toast and you prayed about the health of both the set of parents, that is a point when they are healthy also.
Yes.
And they are young also.
Yes.
So that means you were always very fond of them, close with them.
Yes.
We are all
Yes.
fond and close of our parents. But
Yeah.
कहते हैं ना, in our 20s, we know that they are young.
That's
it is
true.
now when it has hit us.
Correct.
When we go home, we see कि एक नई medicine add हो गई है. The teeth need some treatment.
Yes.
There is muscle loss happening.
Correct.
And that's what makes us think कि अब क्या करें.
Right.
And you did that move. You
Yes.
took that plunge.
Yes.
So it was primarily to take care of your parents' health.
Yes, so Shubhi, that is what it was, because I think, like you mentioned, all of those things that we had started to see where, clearly their health was deteriorating. There were, sometimes panic calls, ki, aaj ye ho gaya. They were not able to make some decisions, even simple things like UPI payments. They needed our help.
Yes.
Netflix recharge करना
This is
है.
a very perpetual thing. FASTag आ गया है.
Exactly.
Netflix account करना है.
Exactly. Because see,
Yes.
also digital transformation has now led to this way where things are evolving so quickly that they are not able to keep pace with that. So their lives technology has made our lives easy, not necessarily theirs. They are struggling to learn new technology and adapt to it. So I think we were starting to see this increasingly. And there came a point in our lives when we said, ab bahut ho gaya. It is better to go live with them, because the ultimate objective and the ultimate purpose is ki everybody around you, especially your family members, should live happily, and you should be able to enhance their lives and they should be able to enhance yours. So I think the decision somewhere in the back of our mind was always there that we wanted to be close to them. But I think all of these small things that kept happening progressively, and then more recently, little bit more serious health issues that came up, that we finally said, okay, this is it. This is the stage in our life where we have the privilege to make that decision, to work flexibly. So let's move to Jaipur.
So simple it may sound, ki, okay, we decided we can work remotely, we moved to Jaipur. But this decision would have had personal and professional impact.
True.
So professional, we'll talk in the later half of the conversation.
Right.
But first tell me, you are a girl who left Jaipur at the age of 18.
Yes.
And you've been on your own, living on your own,
Yes.
knitted a life on your own.
Right.
And it's a beautiful world which we all create.
Yes.
कहते हैं ना वो महल हो सपनों का भाई, we all start knitting that महल in our 20s only.
Right.
We are so fond and we are so, emotionally attached to that first furniture piece
Yes.
which we purchase.
Absolutely.
Yeah, ये हमारा first वो था, ये first है. So it's a beautiful life which we all create.
Correct.
And then suddenly does it become so easy कि नहीं यार parents का call आया, pack up, and we are a practical generation.
Yes. Yes.
So did emotions take over your practical attitude?
Right. So I think Shubhi, as they say na, dil ki suno, or I think this is in one of your talks.
Yes, it was in
only.
season 1. Dil ki,
Yes.
You remember that talk?
Yes, exactly. So it was one of your talk shows that I heard this, that dil ki suno
Ya
or
dimag ki.
So I think वही एग्जैक्ट डिलेमा था कि दिल की सुने या दिमाग की सुने. बट आई थिंक आई वेरी स्ट्रांगली ऑलवेज बिलीव्ड कि दिल की सुनो, follow your gut. I've done the same thing even in my professional career. I've made my professional choices based on what my gut tells me, maybe not so much dimag. I've changed my career multiple times. So I think I applied the same formula here कि दिल की सुनो और दिमाग से करवाओ. Because अगर आप you follow your gut, if you do something that matches your personality and makes you really happy, the brain will get conditioned to do it well, right? You will take more accountability to actually make it happen in a good way because your heart did it and you followed your heart to do it. So I think it was the same sort of logic that we used here, that it made sense. We really wanted to move closer to them. We could see that they would be happy with this decision.
And here I would like to add something. Yeah. Your educational and professional background, I think somewhere has an impact on this decision. Social impact, sustainability. So, unconsciously, it is reflecting in your personal choice as well. Yes?
Yes, I think you can say that.
Yeah.
Like I said, I have switched my career also multiple times. I started to be an architect, moved into sustainability, then education. So in fact, I remember one of my senior colleagues once joked and said that Mansi changes her career with every leap year. So
When is the next leap year?
yeah, so I'm not sure what I'm going to do next. And I think I found that my purpose was to,
Yeah.
have a fulfilled life.
Yeah.
And a large part of our fulfillment came from seeing our parents happy, of being able to be with them when they needed us. So I think it's a
Such
lot
a
about
fulfillment. It's a feeling of, accomplishment for
Yes.
them also.
Yes.
And it's a full feeling of fulfillment for us also. Okay,
Correct.
yes, we are there for them.
Yes, exactly. So it also, I think, one thing that, when I came at that crossroads, and when Apar, my husband, and I, we discussed, we said, let's say we make this decision. What is the flip side of this?
Yeah.
Will we be, let's say we didn't make this decision actually, what would be the flip side? Would we be happy when, say, something unforeseen happened? How would we live with it? Would we live happily with it, or would we live with regret the whole of our lives? And we realized we would live with regret. So we
Yeah.
didn't want to be in a
That
position.
guilt, वो बोझ जिसे कहते हैं ना, yeah, nobody wants to live with it.
Exactly. So
Yes.
we definitely did not want to live with that guilt in our minds that we weren't there for them, or had we been there, this could have been
Yeah.
avoided. I mean,
Kash
that said,
hum wahan
gosh.
hote.
I mean,
Yeah.
that said, who can stop anything from happening? But at the same point, if there are choices that you can make that can, lead to a positive outcome, then so be it. So I think when we considered the flip side of it, when we considered the fact that if we didn't
It
make
helped
this
you
choice,
to come to this choice.
it made a very strong decision for us कि वो तो नहीं हम देख सकते, वो तो we won't be able to live with peace with that. Therefore, let's make this and let's make this work.
So you and Apar were clear about your personal choice.
Right.
But now it is not only both of you.
That's right.
It is not your Thanksgiving ceremony which is
Yes.
happening.
Yes.
You are not in US in your 20s.
Yes.
You have a daughter.
That's right.
And she's in her middle school now.
Yes.
So how did you convince her? See, children these days are so possessive and they are so particular. So how did you convince Ahika? How did you convince your daughter?
Is that we bribed her. I mean, on a serious note.
And bribe was?
Yes, the bribe was the promise of a pet.
They all want
always,
that.
Yes, she's
Yeah.
always wanted one. And we said, in our Bangalore nuclear families, who will
In
look after the
apartments
pet?
also it gets.
Exactly. So I think that was sort of, that clinched the deal for us. But yes, there was a lot more.
But kids are smart.
Yeah. So it
Matlab,
was,
she was not sure. She knows her parents very well.
Yes,
कि
she
ये
knows
bribe है.
how
She
to,
didn't know this. कि it's a bribe.
No, she knew this was a bribe. And so again, right, I'm saying that this is, we can talk about it jokingly and say कि एक library promise कर दी और एक pet promise कर दिया तो बच्चा तैयार हो गया to uproot their lives. It's not as simple as that, right? As you said,
Yeah.
children are extremely observant of what is happening around them.
They're more cautious.
They are,
Yeah.
and they have a mind of their own, and
Yes.
they are able to speak it now,
Yeah.
right? In our times,
And they
even
like
if-
to express it, and we
Yes.
also give them that
yes,
freedom.
we give them that
Yeah.
freedom and that agency to express
Yeah.
themselves, right? So we did go through all of this, right? When this idea, and I don't think we ever sort of introduced the idea to her. It was more when she heard conversations around the house, and so she knew what was going on. And then there did come a time where we said, okay, let's formally all sit down and discuss this and weigh out the pros and the cons and all of that. We did that.
Proper एक framework बना के.
बिल्कुल हम
Literally
तीनों
एक presentation.
हाँ बिल्कुल हम तीनों बैठे. I think वही ना business studies पढ़ के
Yeah.
corporate में काम कर करके
Sustainable solutions, yeah.
SWOT analysis कर करके
Yeah.
आदत पड़ जाती है to weigh every problem
Yeah.
like that. So we did that. We sat
And we
down.
know how to sell ourselves.
Yes, exactly. So we did that. We
Yeah.
did that entire exercise of sitting down with her, trying to explain the pros and cons to her. I cannot say that she was fully enthusiastic about it. But I mean, again, right, I believe that children are very resilient.
Yeah.
Children need to know how to adapt. But I do think that, for me, one of the biggest reasons why I didn't think twice about how it would impact her negatively was that I feel kitne bacche hain jinko they have the opportunity to live with both sets of grandparents.
True.
Right? So I think she's very
Blessed.
fortunate. She's
Yeah.
blessed that both her grandparents are here and she will be able to live with them and receive their love, learn so much from them, something that we can never teach her, right? Both Apar and I grew up in joint families.
And this is so nice to hear, Mansi, because, in today's calculative, mechanical world where we always weigh our decisions, this is the least thing which
Yeah.
honestly clicks to anyone. People are more concerned that, oh, my kid is going to this academy, they are learning this sport there, and a bigger city has many opportunities. Not that
Yes.
I'm, demeaning any city,
Right.
but they all have this. The
Yes,
kids
of
are
course.
fixated. And you took this decision, you convinced her, and you have your own school of thoughts.
Yeah.
But tell me one thing, this is a personal choice. But didn't you even evaluate that because their parents were aging and all that, they could move with you? Was it because both the sets were in Jaipur? Because usually this is what I see, my
Right.
friends, that their parents or their in-laws have moved in the same condo and staying with them.
Right.
Didn't you evaluate this option?
So to be honest, that was sort of the first
Yeah.
thought that came to
Yeah.
our mind also. That
Because it's practical,
it's
nothing for you
practical,
changes.
it's
Yeah.
least disruptive.
Yeah.
So this was the first thought that came to our mind. This was the most common suggestion that we got from friends and family, right? But should we think about it? जो ट्रांजिशन करने से हम डर रहे हैं या हमें तकलीफें हो रही हैं व्हेन वी आर नॉट इवन रूटेड हम ऐसे लोग हैं जो हर 4 साल में 3 साल में जॉब चेंज करते हैं सिटी चेंज करते हैं सो देन इफ वी आर थिंकिंग सो मच अबाउट मूविंग टू अ न्यू सिटी एंड देयर इज सो मच इनर्शिया रिलेटेड टू दैट think about our parents, right? At least for both my sets of parents, they have always lived in the same city. They're not just rooted to the city, but also to their homes.
It's a very emotional attachment.
Absolutely.
And for us, we are nomads.
Yeah, so we are
keep
nomads.
switching cities. Yeah.
Exactly. For them, they are very deeply rooted. So the transition would have been much tougher for them.
And deeper.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it didn't
The
seem
personal
fair
impact on them would have been
with much more. And given
there.
their health
Yeah.
conditions, right now they are in a comfort zone, right? They don't need to get out of a comfort zone. We are okay to get out of a comfort zone. So we didn't think it was fair कि हम जो खुद करने से डर रहे हैं उनके ऊपर इम्पोज करें हमारी कन्वीनियंस के लिए.
This is so true because, in this season 2 of Let Us Talk, we are talking about navigating the midlife challenges and how our present decisions define our future. And what you just said tells me that, get out of comfort zone. We always focus
Yes.
on that.
Yes.
And this is your biggest comfort zone.
Yes.
Uprooting your family to a smaller place to where you were living.
Yes.
And I mean, it's not an easy choice, I'm sure, and our audience will understand and relate to it.
Yeah.
So yes, getting out of comfort zone and staying with grandparents is another blessing. So there were a lot of things which you analyzed
Right.
and personal implications and
Right.
this. So Mansi, dil aur dimag ki jang mein dil ki jeet ही हुई after all. But थोड़ा तो दिमाग से भी हम सोचते ही हैं. Didn't you consider that, uprooting yourself would have had impact? Professional we'll discuss later, but personally that exposure, like how I was talking about alpha parents and the classes which our kids go to,
Yes.
the kind of opportunities they get.
Right.
So did you weigh this option also?
Right. No, so Shubhi, I can speak from my very personal experience. And, sort of the idea that I myself grew up with for many, many years. I used to play tennis.
Yeah.
And, when I used to go for any national tournaments, I used to feel really small. Because I think that...
But why small?
No, because I think, girls who used to come from Bangalore, Chennai, Delhi, the confidence level that they had, the kind of training that they had received, they were playing with ball machines at that time. And we still had human coaches,
Sir,
ball
throwing
boys,
ball at-
throwing
yeah.
ball at us, and wo dheere dheere
Yeah.
ball aati thi, right? So the minute that we landed on the same court as them, it was a challenge and you really felt like you didn't stand in the same league as them, right? And I grew up thinking that had I got the exposure, if I went to an academy, a proper training academy in one of these large cities, I could have had a chance at being a tennis pro, right? So sort of there was this in the back of my mind also कि
Our preconceived
हाँ
notions.
कि
Yeah.
हमें वो एक्सपोजर नहीं मिला इसलिए शायद हम वो नहीं कर पाए जो हम कर
काश,
पाते
हाँ.
शायद, right? So वो था, but I do think that now that doesn't hold true anymore. Cities, whether tier 2 cities, smaller towns, I think वो काफी एक lines अब
एक
blurred हो
platform,
गई हैं.
yeah.
There are enough platforms for growth everywhere.
Yeah.
I think we have enough examples to showcase कि इनफैक्ट अगर आप देखें तो ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा जो आजकल स्पोर्ट्स पर्सन एंड आई एम अगेन टेकिंग द एग्जांपल ऑफ स्पोर्ट्स बिकॉज दैट इज वेरी क्लोज टू माय हार्ट बट most of the sports persons are actually coming from the smallest areas.
True.
Right? So it's not so much, so exposure is now not a limitation. Number one, it is not a factor of just the location. There is enough exposure available everywhere. That was one that I believe, we've seen that change happen. Secondly, I also think that, as evolved parents, we are out and about. आज ज़रूरत पड़ती है तो हम कॉन्सर्ट देखने भी दूसरे शहर में पहुंच जाते हैं,
Yeah.
राइट? सो अगर
We
हमें
take our kids abroad
हाँ, we take our
to
kids
see some
abroad
tournament
to
or
see a
something.
tournament.
I
We've done
remember you
that.
mentioning to me that
Exactly.
yes,
Exactly. So we've taken
Yeah.
our child to see,
Tennis,
Wimbledon and
yeah.
French Open even when she's young,
Yeah.
because I think we have the means to be able to do that.
Yeah.
The world's boundaries are now, really blurring in those aspects. So both those things, right? Number one, I don't think that city limits are now creating any limits in exposure, right? Number one. Number two, this whole preconceived notion of a small city having limited exposure, limited, access to opportunities, less competitive peers. I think वो सब अब वैसा कुछ है नहीं. All children are exposed to the same type of content, the same type of access to amenities. वो काफी अब equal हो चुका है. And then,
it's dissolving.
It's dissolving. And then we are also able to, go abroad,
Give them
travel
that
everywhere,
exposure,
give them that kind of exposure, which we didn't get at that time because तब इतना commonplace नहीं था कि flight पकड़ी और चले गए कहीं पे भी. तो अब हम वो कर पाते हैं. तो I think given that both of these things exist, that we thought we'd be able to tackle very well even if we ever faced it.
So now going back to the conversation we've had,
Yeah.
personally you evaluated this option and dil ki sun li.
Yeah.
But it has a professional implication too. Both you and Apar are from Ivy League universities. And jab professionally you analyzed it, you weighed it, didn't you feel that the opportunities are more in a bigger cities? So like, while balancing your family responsibilities,
Right.
you cannot ignore your career aspirations.
No,
And
absolutely.
honestly, that's not what our parents even want us to do.
Absolutely.
You are on a path which you've chosen, you are towards your career goal,
Yes.
and suddenly you have to make this transition.
Right.
It is not easy.
Right.
So how now let's get into the professional aspect.
Right.
How did you weigh it professionally?
So yes, Shubhi, I think that is something that that was, I would say that was at the forefront, right? Because
Yeah.
अभी तक जितने भी हमने decisions लिए या जो prioritize किया है, that has been for our career growth.
True. We all move because of professional
moved
reasons.
to study,
Yeah.
then we move further to study more, then we
yeah.
move for the next job and the next job and the next job. So almost like, till your midlife, all your decisions
Yes.
are being made to advance your career aspirations. And then you come at a crossroads where you say, and almost, when there is a chance for you to actually
Yes.
do better in your career.
Because what you have sown.
Yeah, what you have sown, what you worked hard for, you've
Yeah.
paved the path for it. And then you are at a crossroads where, what is needed or required from you is to perhaps prioritize family, right? So you are very right in asking this question, that did we think about it and how did we really approach that? So again, right, I think, like I mentioned, going back to the Thanksgiving story, somewhere at the back of our minds, हमेशा ये था कि ये time कभी तो आएगा. So the way that we even built our, career aspirations and whatever we did in the last few years were also built in a manner where both Apar and I are in positions right now where we are able to work remotely. Right, we have been able to talk to our organizations to give us these opportunities to work remotely. We also that does not mean that we've taken a backseat in our career, right? ऐसा
Yeah,
नहीं है
because
कि
I was about to ask you if this story was there in your mind. Were your moves always keeping this story? Was it there in the back of the mind?
नहीं,
No.
I don't think ऐसा कुछ था कि
Okay.
we were slowly like, moving towards it.
Because
I don't
it
think,
can be seen like that.
Yeah.
I don't know if few people have questioned you.
नहीं, I don't think ऐसा था, but I think वो कहीं ना कहीं दिमाग में था. See, we both had H1 visas in the US, right? The most coveted
Yeah, and this
work
is something
visas.
which holds so many people.
Exactly.
हमारा H1 हो गया है, हमारा
Exactly.
green card हो गया
वो
है.
2008,
Yeah.
2007 में, when H1s weren't coming by, we had H1 visas. We both had the, all
Opportunity
the
to stay,
opportunities
yeah.
to stay there. But we moved to India. So I don't think that उसका कारण सिर्फ ये था that we wanted to be, we were moving closer to family. But yes, I think somewhere in our minds it was clear that this is what we would like to do.
And यहाँ पे
right?
your बचपन की story didn't, help. Like you said, कि when I used to go for these tennis tournaments,
Yeah.
and I used to see the confidence level of big people and all.
Yeah.
तो कई बार होता है ना that this story can also be in your mind कि
Yeah.
यार bigger cities will make me
Yes.
more confident career-wise
Yes.
also.
Yes.
So this wasn't there.
Yeah, no, of course it was there, and I think should be what happens, no, when you've been there. So
Yeah.
we did all that,
Yeah,
which is what I'm saying
actually.
that अभी तक हमने वही किया है. We've seen all that. We've lived in some of the biggest cities that we've worked in companies that have given us a lot of exposure. We've traveled extensively, so we've seen all of that and we've taken the advantage of that, right? I do think that we are now at a position where we wanted to make sure that we are able to prioritize family without giving up on our career aspirations. Now, how do you do that? Like you
and
said,
how
in a smaller
did your
city.
companies take it? Because
Yeah.
when you tell them you want to move for a personal move, kahin na kahin they can cushion it also.
Yes.
It can be a hurdle to your career growth also.
Yes, I agree.
So how did you analyze this? कि भाई career path अच्छा चल रहा है. We both have the flexibility to work from anywhere.
Right.
But will it impact our future growth? How was this weighed?
So, Shubhi, I think a very pertinent question. Ki how do the companies view it? So, I think honestly, COVID has played a big role in helping with that.
Yeah.
Right? I think people have realized ki
Geography is history.
geography is history. Yeah,
You can work
exactly.
from anywhere.
You can work from anywhere. I am not underplaying the importance of working with a team or working in an environment where you're going to office. There is no denying that there are lots of pros of that, right? But again, one has to prioritize, right? So I do think that we were able to communicate with our organizations in a manner where we were quite sure that this was going to be the pathway for us, and therefore working remotely has worked out for us. Another thing is that we travel extensively. It's not like हम
Yeah,
move
एक ही
हो गए हैं
जगह।
तो एक ही जगह बैठ के बस अब यहीं से काम करेंगे. Both our jobs have been such that we've been traveling even from
Before
our
also, yeah.
base also. When our base was Bangalore, we've been traveling a lot. So I think our nature of work allows us to work remotely, to travel as we need to. When we need to work with teams, we travel for conventions, we travel for conferences. So in that sense, the move does not mean that we've had to take a big step back in
yeah.
our careers. The base has changed, but
The nature
nothing
of
more.
work remains
The
the
nature
same.
of work remains the
Yeah.
same. The intensity of work remains the same. In fact, I think being in a smaller city where commute times are less, we're actually able to give more quality time
Yeah.
to
Both
our
at work and
yes,
at home.
both at work and at home. So yeah, I don't think. Again, right, it's not every organization will allow that.
Yeah.
The nature of work can be very different. We have lots of friends who are in jobs that need them to be on
Yeah.
location.
And
So-
somehow people want also. Like,
Yeah.
didn't you feel the need? Like you said, COVID has taught us. But COVID also made people realize that they need to interact with their teams.
Correct.
They need
Correct.
to be around people because
Yes.
the real learning is that.
That is true. So yes, do I miss working with the team? 100%. But like I said, we make up for it by
Yeah.
traveling often. Jaipur is close to Delhi. Again, this is a city-specific thing. Jaipur is close to Delhi. Colleagues are traveling. I am traveling. I think since the time that I have moved to Jaipur, more colleagues have visited me in Jaipur than I would actually see them in the Bangalore office, right? So I think it all eventually works out. You have to be a little bit open-minded for it, right? You have to be okay to say maybe I'll miss out on 2 things, but not 10.
During midlife, and especially when both the partners are working and it's a working couple and they are at their peak.
Right.
So, one can't take the decision to move. It is collective. So you both were lucky in that space, but I know so many people who are not able to take this
Right.
shift or this transition because of this.
Right. No, you're right, Shubhi. I think while it may be a personal preference, fir bhi it's not always practical.
True.
Right. So in fact, I recently posted on LinkedIn about
And
it.
let me tell our audience that that was the trigger point to have
Okay.
you on this show.
Oh, I see. Okay.
I saw your LinkedIn post and I was like, wow.
It was very interesting when you reached out to me because I posted it as a life update that I am
And what
now in a new
comments you
city.
got on that post?
Yes, so
Yeah.
I was quite surprised, actually fascinated almost, that so many people. It's one of my most commented posts on
Wow,
LinkedIn,
see,
right? And I mean,
it's
I'm
a decision
yeah,
which we all feel to take, but वही हमारी boundaries, हमारा workspace,
correct.
हमारी privacy,
Correct.
our children, it all
Yeah.
holds us
So
back.
because I did not think that post would resonate with so many people. I think my purpose of putting that post out was simply letting my network know that I am now in a new
Jaipur,
city, right?
and for what
Yeah,
reason?
and for
Yeah.
what reason, right? That was the only purpose. There was no other purpose. But when I saw comments trickling in and then people sending me messages, private messages about, oh, you made, and some of them were strangers, actually. I didn't really know them.
Wow.
That oh, we resonate so much and we are going through this. How did you think about this? Could we talk to you? So many people requested to actually have a conversation about it, because
And you had?
yeah, I spoke to 2 or 3 different people.
Wow.
Some who'd made the move,
Yeah.
some who were still thinking of how to
So
make
there
the
are
move.
people who make this
There are
move.
people. There were
Yeah.
people who actually
I
reached
thought
out.
you are the only one, and I
No,
was
no.
in awe because
no.
few years back a friend told me that at this point of our life,
Yeah.
we are very much used to living on our own.
Correct.
And if we can't stay with our in-laws, we can't
Yeah.
stay with our parents
Parents.
also.
True.
And it sounded so practical that time.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
now after conversing with you, I realize never say never.
Never say never,
Yeah.
right? I think the one thing that I've really learned is that, like you said, never say never, and our priorities change.
Yeah.
Right.
So, Mansi, did your priority change here? Did professional take a little stepping back while pushing your personal front? I'm asking this again and again because, professional is what holds us. And
Yeah.
at this point of our life, when somebody is aiming to be a CEO or some, I mean, you have your own defined career
Correct.
goals.
Correct.
And इतना पास होते हुए वो कहते ना कि यार इतना पास होते हुए हम ऐसे हो गए. It is not an easy choice. Personally, you have figured out and your framework was there and everything.
Yeah.
But professional framework, I want to know.
Right. So I wouldn't say, मैंने ऐसा बिल्कुल भी नहीं सोचा कि I'm taking a step back from my career. So I'll tell you something very interesting. Even when we were thinking कि what in Jaipur, right? In fact, there were a couple of things that came up. One was, of course, we realized that work-life balance in Jaipur can be much better because आपका commute time कम हो जाता है. Because आप the other things that you have to take care of, the responsibilities that you have when you're living in a nuclear family are slightly different and maybe more. So you actually have a little bit more free time. Therefore, your work-life balance is more. Your quality of life is better because now you're living amongst more people, who you care for, who you love for. You are a little bit more at peace also, right? One of the biggest reasons why we moved was because we were, constantly worried about the parents' health, right? So, अब अगर हम
And
उनके
this
पास हैं,
affected your work also.
This affected our work
because the
also.
weekends were frequented and traveling
Yeah,
to Jaipur.
exactly.
And entire weekend is gone. So it
वो-
disrupts your work
it
balance
disrupts
also. Monday
your-
morning flying back.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. Because we saw
Yeah.
that, we still know a lot of our friends are doing that, right? वो हर weekend घर जाते
And
हैं.
it's not
वो
practical
Sunday
and it's
night-
not a long-term
yeah,
thing.
So I
Yeah.
don't see how that is sustainable, and we did that. Right, so it's not like we didn't try it. We did that, but it wasn't serving any purpose. We were constantly guilty of neither being here nor being there. Most people were actually quite sort of, I would say supportive of that decision that was made, and they didn't perceive it as something which was a step back. In fact, many people told me that, oh, you've done the right thing. The city is going to give you a lot more peace.
Yeah.
Living with family is going to give you a lot more satisfaction, and also as
But
they
what
say,
about professional satisfaction? Now, when we are getting
Yeah.
deeper in the
Yeah.
professional impact and aspect,
Right.
how did you, how did you think about the professional satisfaction? Because
Right.
you are on your career path, and how did you think, or how have you defined your career growth here?
Sure. So I think it should be very simple, like three steps. One is that just because you've moved away from office doesn't mean you compromise on your work and your quality, and that is something that remote work allows you to do.
Yeah.
Right now, there are many ways in which you can make or optimize your own remote work practices. Right. So that is something that I definitely take care to do, which is setting boundaries, setting up an office in Jaipur, making sure that I actually go to an office every day, step out of the house and do my work from that office. So I think the first thing is ensuring that this move will not cause any changes in how I'm currently working, right? That said, like I mentioned earlier, I continue to travel wherever as needed. The second thing that I would like to bring out is that, Jaipur has a lot of industry forums. There's TIE, there's CII. All these industry forums are similar in
they're
any city.
active, yeah.
Yeah, they're very active. They're similar to each other. There is a lot of cross communication, cross networking that happens between members of different cities. So I continue to do that. I was an active member of some of these forums in whichever city I've lived in. So I carry those connections back, right? The third thing I'd say, in fact, some of my Jaipur network is stronger.
Yeah.
I grew up in that city. A lot of my school alumni are now in sort of, big positions in other companies. I'm going back to my roots. Sometimes, as they say, you bloom where your roots are.
Yeah.
So my own family's connections, my own connections are stronger in Jaipur. So I'm able to actually leverage that network also better in many, many ways.
But tell me one thing, how it was this move seen by your college network? The college
Right.
alumni networks are very strong.
Right.
How did they see it? They also saw it in a very positive, emotional way, or they were like bang on professionally. Ki, what are you doing this? What have you thought?
No, so I don't think nobody actually said that we were making the wrong decision. There were questions. And see, again, most of my college alumni peers are of the same age.
Yeah.
Right.
And that is why I'm again and again asking,
Correct.
because this is the biggest fear.
Yes.
Ki, are we stepping back?
Yes.
Will we be able to do?
Yes.
Will our career path be there? Because
Yes.
abhi bhi jo sunta hai na ki, okay, Bombay or Bangalore or Delhi, okay, these are the places in India,
Yeah.
Hyderabad also,
Yeah.
which are bubbling with opportunities. And so that is why I want to know, what is the
So,
career growth you have thought here?
On that point, let me tell you some very interesting facts, right? So you'll see this report by Colliers, and there's one by WRI also.
Yes.
The WRI report is called State of the Cities, and I think the Colliers is something called growth, equitable growth in smaller cities. So when you read some of this literature, when you read how cities are growing and sort of where is the next phase of growth for the country coming from, they've actually listed down. One report has listed 17, and the other
they have the
report
list
has
of
40.
cities,
They have a list of cities where the next phase of growth is coming from, and you have Nasik, Patna, Ayodhya,
These are
Agra,
the future.
Jaipur.
Yeah.
This is where
Indore.
the next phase of growth is coming from. So if you really ask me, for anybody, and now I'm not speaking from just my personal story of why I moved into a city like this, but for anybody who's apprehensive about thinking that they may be taking a step back when they're moving into a smaller city, I would say actually this is the perfect time to do that, right? I would say this is where, and I'm not saying this, the reports, there's data to support that, which says that there is, the infrastructure has been created, there is enough talent, access has been created, there is great
talent.
connectivity,
Attrition
great talent.
is so low in these cities.
Absolutely. Work-life balance is better. People have a lot more fulfillment when they're living close to family members. All of these factors lead to good workplaces, right? Most of these cities now have startup incubators, VC funders. Some great startups have come out of Jaipur.
True.
Jaipur Rugs,
Yeah.
AU Small Finance Bank,
AU
Car
Bank,
Deco,
yes.
right? So think of all of these startups in all different sectors, right? So not even just one particular sector, because Jaipur's
It's a
traditional,
diverse,
Jaipur's traditional industry is known for something completely different, jewelry and handicrafts,
Yes.
right? But these startups have come up in finance, right, and servicing, car servicing,
has changed
automotive,
the way,
right?
yes.
So if you look at the growth potential of any of these cities, whether somebody is trying to be an entrepreneur, whether somebody is trying to find a job or continue their growth path, even in a corporate career, there are opportunities that are being created. The way that I look at this is that I don't think that being in some of these cities that are growing themselves is going to be a deterrent to your career growth. There are multiple opportunities available in whichever field you choose to be. Specifically in my field, remote work helps. I don't have to change much. Even if I wanted to change it, I can see so many potential opportunities there. MSME industry is growing.
Yes.
Yeah, it's booming in a city like Jaipur. Manufacturing, which is the next growth sector in general, is again the kind of opportunities through the SEZs and those kinds of opportunities that are available. In fact, it's very difficult to set those up in some of these larger cities. So whether you're trying to be an entrepreneur, or you're trying to
Balance your work, yeah.
or you're trying to, or you're in the corporate sector where you've always been an employee of an organization. I think there are opportunities and there are ways to make it work irrespective of your location.
Yeah.
And being in these cities, actually, it's a great time to be in some of these smaller cities where you get the best of both worlds.
So Mansi, your career path also you've identified, and ऐसा नहीं है कि बिल्कुल ही बस सब छोड़ छाड़ के आ गए. You've mapped it very well,
Yeah.
and you know the ways, and like you said कि the preconceived notions हैं which block us, and like you mentioned, you travel more now, and
Yeah.
you travel a lot for your work.
Right.
Does it take a toll on your health? Midlife होते ही health takes a different toll.
Right.
Suddenly we hear so many slip disc cases in offices.
Right.
किसी का कुछ हो रहा है. So
Right.
has it taken a toll on your health? Mental health also, because traveling is not fun.
No,
we are
it's
not
not.
traveling for fun. It is
Correct.
work travel. You
Correct.
have back-to-back meetings there,
Correct.
or you have conferences lined up where you're
Yes.
standing giving
Yes.
presentations.
Right.
So how has it affected your health?
Right. So I think should be a little bit of work travel may have increased.
Yeah.
Right. So not to say that any transition, आप कोई भी transition करोगे, हवा जिसे कहते हैं ना, I remember when I first moved, I was sick for a few days, right? Immediately after I reached, and my grandmother said, हवा पानी change होता है तो बीमार तो हो गई. So वो वैसी वाली बात है, हवा पानी बदला है तो एक बार तो तबीयत बिगड़नी है. So I think it is part of that transition. That's how I look at it. That said, self-discipline is important. There are things that one has to take care of. So I don't think that this change in the nature of work is sort of in any way impacting. It is more key as we are getting into that midlife.
Yeah.
We anyway have to take care of our health. So yeah, I would simply say that yes, it does take a toll. I am not going to deny it. The transition itself takes a toll, right? Because you do take time to
I will
adjust.
put a question again. Your personal impact, professional impact, and how you're maintaining that balance.
Yeah.
It is very clear that it is self-motivation. It is self-discipline. That it's not self-motivation, self-discipline. How do you get that? How do you, choose to get that? It is easy when you're in a nuclear setup.
Yeah.
But in such a setup, again, I'm asking because, these are few things
Yeah.
which holds all of us back.
Right.
That how can you say be self-motivated?
Correct.
So how do you bring that balance? How do you bring that self-motivation?
Correct. So I think Shubhi, there are 2-3 things here. बिल्कुल आपने सही बोला कि there are many clashing commitments, right? Some that you want to do, आपका भी मन होता है. It's not just कि कोई responsibility होती है.
And especially when you've missed on this for so many years.
For so many years,
yeah.
like I said, I grew up in Jaipur. I grew
Yeah.
up in the same city. So I also enjoy a lot of
you're
these
close to
social
your
commitments.
relatives,
I'm close to
yes.
my relatives also, right? So there are always these clashes. These clashes didn't have a place in our life because we were living a very typical corporate working couple life. सिर्फ weekends पे socialize करेंगे, बाकी दिन
Work
नहीं
है,
करेंगे.
office है,
अब
friends
वैसा
भी
कुछ
उसी
नहीं है.
category में
हाँ,
कि
सब
everybody
वैसे ही हैं,
understands,
right?
yeah.
यहाँ पे वैसा नहीं है. So
Yeah.
yes, there are clashes like that, and these clashes are in our own mind, right? So I think 2-3 things that we follow. One is, like I said, setting boundaries. वो जो boundaries हैं, one has to prioritize कि किस वक्त what is it that can be let go of. At what point in time I have a deadline. इस वक्त चाहे कितनी भी important social commitment हो, that has to wait.
And these boundaries, but also, are set
Yes.
with time.
Yes.
You can't just
No,
come
you can't.
and next day you say
No.
कि भाई मेरी meeting है.
No, you can't be on that high ground. You
And
can't.
at work also you need
Correct.
to have
Yes.
that boundary
So I
created.
think that is, communication, open communication there has been very, 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 very important. At work, fortunately, I have extremely kind peers and employers where when I have expressed to them that, see, this is the transition I'm making, this is the reason I'm making it for, I'm going to need some kindness, some flexibility from you. Please understand that I want to work, my priority is work, I will not give you shoddy work, but give me the flexibility to do it at my own time. I have got that, right? Before making the move, I had that conversation. So I think
you had that conversation with
my boss.
Okay.
With my boss, right? So I think...
And he was accommodative?
Yes. Yeah. He in fact appreciated that I was honest with him. And I told him that, look, these 10 days, leave me alone. I will come back. And so I think that honesty and ownership
Yeah.
and
And
holding
that healthy
yourself accountable
communication at
is very, very
workplace,
important,
yeah.
right? So because I remember he actually told me that I love that you're so self-aware that this change is going to impact you. You're not trying to say, nahi, मैं झांसी की रानी हूँ, मैं सब कुछ कर
Yeah.
लूँगी, right? Because I think a lot of, especially women,
Yeah,
we do
yeah.
go into that mode कि नहीं नहीं ये तो मैं सब कुछ करूँगी, मैं
And we
ये भी
take
संभालूंगी,
pride
वो भी
that we
संभालूंगी.
can multitask. Yeah.
Nahi. So वही, so I think he appreciated that I was self-aware and that I had this conversation with him. So on the work front, I think that helped. The same communication I had at home before we actually made the move. I traveled alone actually to my in-laws' place, and I had that chat with my
Really?
mother-in-law.
You
Yes.
really sat down with them
I did.
and had a chat?
I did. And I said, see, we
Yeah.
are moving and we'd love to move and we'd love to live here with you. So number one, do you want to live with us?
Ah, wow.
Right.
That is really a open
Yeah.
and healthy communication.
Because like we discussed earlier, ये transition सिर्फ हमारे लिए नहीं है, उनके लिए भी है. उनके अपनी lifestyle है जो हमसे भी ज़्यादा set है. Should we go and disrupt that?
Yeah.
Right? Because वो भी disturb होंगे हमारे आने से. So firstly, do you want us to even come here? And if you want us to come here, we are very aware that we are moving into your house.
Yeah.
Right? So we want to make sure that you are comfortable. And so you tell us what you want from us. We are not coming here to disturb you. We are coming to add value to your lives. So what is it that you would like us to do? Where is it that you need our help? How will I add to you and not subtract from
This
your
is
life?
something,
right?
I'm hearing for the first time. That anybody after so many years of marriage also,
Yeah.
having such an open, healthy communication.
Yes, I'm
because I
fortunate.
feel after few years, it एक unsaid expectation
Yeah.
और एक unsaid वो हो जाता है कि भाई हम आ रहे हैं तो understood है we are coming for this and you expect this from us.
हाँ, नहीं, so I think हम लोग वो we
School
were
of
very
thought से
clear
हैं
कि
कि,
हम लोग ने ये सोचा कि ये बात करनी बहुत ज़रूरी है because when we are moving तो सबके लिए comfortable होना चाहिए वो. So I think that conversation again really helped. Open communication, extremely important. Setting some boundaries on your own is also very important. Like I said, physical boundaries कि ये अभी work space है मेरा, ये work space नहीं है, इस वक्त जाना है, इस वक्त आना है. So I think that is also very important. Third thing I'd say is, you talked about motivation. It comes from self-discipline.
Yeah,
Right.
but how do you maintain that?
So I think I have my parents to blame for that, or I should say thank for that.
Yeah, thankful is better.
Yes, exactly. Because as kids, we used to like, क्या इतना बिल्कुल हिटलर की तरह treat करते हैं. But I think they were very particular. कि चाहे vacations हैं, particular of we have to wake up early in the morning.
Achha.
Sports is absolutely important, right? So I think there was never a time that I was allowed to miss a sports class क्योंकि बारिश हो रही है.
And
Right?
you used to play tennis?
Yes, I used to play tennis, and if I ever said कि नहीं आज I can't go for training क्योंकि बारिश हो रही है, my mother's only dialogue was चीनी की बनी हो,
Wow.
पिघल जाओगी, right? If I would say कि गर्मी ज़्यादा है,
कैसे उनकी बातें ना वो अभी तक दिमाग में फिक्स्ड है.
Exactly.
Yes.
So अगर कभी बोलो कि गर्मी ज़्यादा है, जयपुर के हीट में आप
लू
खेल
चलती
रहे हो,
है.
हाँ, exactly. And then her statement would be क्यों पानी की बनी हो evaporate हो जाओगी. So I think the upbringing has been such that ये सब ज़्यादा ना, you don't indulge yourself in these things. If these thoughts come to you, the first reaction is not to say कि if I'm tired or maybe I should relax. And I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing. But the first thought that comes
good.
to you,
like
is कि,
in season 2 we are talking that how our present choices help us to shape our future. And see, that was the choice you made then, which is helping you now so much.
So I'd say that I think the
that
upbringing,
self-discipline is there because of
those
things,
because I think the upbringing did make us very resilient, and sports had a big part to play in that.
And self-discipline came from that.
Yes, and I think discipline, self-discipline, motivation, trying to say कि, or looking at the other perspective कि कोई बात नहीं अभी ठीक नहीं चल रहा है, so how can what can I do to make it better? And of course there are challenges in every decision that you make, right? So I think those things have really helped. So I maintain that routine where in fact
you and Apar both maintain this routine.
Yes.
He's also equally self-disciplined.
He's also
You're a
been
great team there. Yeah,
thankfully
you're a great team. Touch wood.
In fact, talking of the team, I mean, he also used to play TT as growing up. So I think that sports that we both started has really helped us.
You too. Yeah,
exactly. In fact, on the top the 10 list of what I need to do in the first 10 days of Jaipur when we were finally making making the move was that I need to find a trainer, I need to find a gym, I need to find a running track, right? So in the first 10 days, I sort of made this
So that
list
morning
of
routine is very important.
very important.
It sets your
yes, rhythm
tune
for the
day.
entire
Yeah.
day, right? So I think that is something that we said, ये sacrosanct है.
You
इसको नहीं
structure the
छेड़ेंगे.
routine there?
Yes, I think we follow a fairly structured routine there कि रोज सुबह उठ के whether it means 5 बजे उठना है या 6 बजे उठना है, that we make that happen. We wake up, we work out. We both have our own separate routines there, right? But we make sure that we do that. And I think one more thing that we do, and specifically because you mentioned that whole teamwork, is that not just Apar and I, but the three of us, including my daughter, we've always maintained this policy of holding each other accountable, right? So I think there is this pact that if one of us is slacking in whether it's a workout routine or it is not meeting a deadline or it is overcommitting also, or not meeting a commitment, we call each other out, right? So there have been times when I'm like, okay, I'm tired today, aaj so jati hu, kal subah utھ ke kar lungi kaam. My daughter will say, Mom, that's not going to happen.
They are our biggest cheerleader, and they
so
know
get up
when
from the
to,
desk, sit on that desk, finish your work, because in the morning, if you don't finish this now, in the morning you're going to miss out your workout, right? So I think that thing of honesty as a family of holding each other accountable
is still there.
Is very important, because that 360 feedback जो हम corporates में करते हैं ना, 360 degree feedback is important for growth and वो सब कुछ वो family में भी apply करता है. So we are honest. It can be brutal at times, but it really helps with this motivation, because कुछ भी करें, that motivation does not stay 100% of the times.
Yeah.
At those
we are
points,
humans.
yes,
and we are humans in progress.
Yes, at those points, you need people to back you up,
to remind you,
need people to remind you to hold the stick.
Yes,
you need your cheerleaders,
yes,
and you need somebody to step in and say, if you're tired today, let me do it for you. You need all these four. So if you have that within your first circle, then so you create
You're
that
in a blessed ecosystem.
Then, yes, absolutely. So that is something that I think really works very well for us, and we try and maintain that.
Wow, Mansi, and this was a topic which bothers, I would say bothers many of us, because it is not a very pleasant thing to weigh,
right,
personally and professionally.
Right.
And after talking to you, I only see positives. Touch wood.
Yeah.
I only see positives personally as well as professionally.
True.
When a Harvard graduate can make this move, then any of us can. We all feel ki, we've reached this level and my job opportunities are not there. Never say never. I have had some amazing takeaways from our today's conversations. Never say never. Learn to get out of your comfort zone.
True.
When one door closes, another opens. And also get out of that fear of change, because that is what holds us back.
Right.
There is positive in every situation.
Right.
How beautifully you shared your journey with us, Mansi, and I could only see positives because you had a positive mindset. You are self-disciplined. I think navigating these midlife challenges, the two most important things what we need is learn to be receptive, learn to have a positive mindset. It has really helped you, and I'm sure it will help me also at some point of time if I come in such a crossroad, and it will help our viewers also. Thank you, Mansi, for coming here and doing this talk for us today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Shubhi. Thank you so much for actually giving me this opportunity to talk to you about this, because I would have never thought that this is a topic that would resonate so well with so many people, and that they would have questions. So it's a pleasure. You've been wonderful. I think all of the questions you asked were so pertinent. And now that I think back, I can see how these things even played out in our mind.
And you are Jhansi ki Rani. This is a bold move.
no, but seriously, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure talking to you, and I hope some of these things help other people also in whatever crossroads that they are at
least to navigate their decisions.
Correct. So the only thing that I would say is that one thing that I've always kept in my mind is that always follow your gut. Always follow your heart. It's the one that's going to serve you well. So whether it's professionally, whether it's personally,
things will fall in place.
That is what makes you who you are. So as long as you're listening to your heart, your brain will follow. So that's what I've lived by, and I hope that works for others too.
And what we just spoke about today, is one of the challenge which we all face. आज नहीं तो कल कभी ना कभी ये challenge आता ही है. I hope our today's conversation was insightful. Stay tuned for more such content coming your way. Thank you.